Welcome to Alma Pearl Awakenings. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I do have a story to share with you guys today. This is a little bit before the transition, and I know lately I've been sharing some of the transition stories that our friends and family in heaven have been sharing with me that I've been able to share with you guys here and there. But this is a little bit beforehand. And the reason that I'm sharing this story is because the other day when I was praying and I was, in my reflection about my day, a friend of mine who lives in heaven stopped by and he's like, "Hey, Nikki, are you going to share my story?" And I just thought it was funny and it goes totally along with his personality. But I do want to share Jimmy's story with you and the experience that I had with Jimmy. Um, Close to his passing. So I used to work as a software engineer, and Jimmy and I worked at the same place. We worked at IBM, and um, I would do this work on the side. I had my full-time job as a software engineer, but then on the weekends or in the evening, I would do a lot of my spiritual work. And I would share some of the things that I was working on or discovering about spirituality and my journey and my connection, because I knew him around that time that I had my spiritual awakening in 1998, and we had started to become friends. And so I would share some of these discoveries that I was having or some of these experiences with the people in heaven that I would connect with, and he just would kind of laugh at me and kind of look at me with that face like, "Okay, I believe that you believe that, you're talking to people in heaven." And Jimmy was about 25 years older than me at the time. And so, I would tell him, "No, it's really real, Jimmy. Like I'm telling you, like people in heaven visit me. They have since I was a little girl." And he would just be like, "Okay, Nick, I don't really believe it, but I know it's probably happening for you." So, even though his parents in heaven did come and visit with me and they gave great confirmation for Jimmy, and Jimmy was like, "Okay, I totally believe that now." And then after that, I saw some of his family members that would come to see me to talk to the parents and whatnot. And um, so because Jimmy didn't really buy into this kind of thing, when we had a conversation about this one time, he says, "Yeah, well, when I die, I'm going to come haunt you." I said, "Okay, no, seriously, like come and visit me. Like if you die first, come and visit me. And if I die first, I'm going to like come and visit you." And so we decided that we would come up with a code word, and we each gave each other a word. So his word was spice, and my word was flirt. And so if I died first, I was going to somehow get him a message about flirt, and then he would know that it was me, and that was really really me, and that I had passed away, and that's how he would know. And so if I saw the word spice, then I would know that he passed away, or if he came from heaven and told me the word spice, then I would know that like that's our code word for we're in heaven. So many years pass, and Jimmy and I remain friends, but I had moved jobs and he retired eventually. And so I had kids, and life just kind of got really busy. And so we would see each other here and there and occasionally. And of course, he maintained friendships with the people that were also friends of mine that worked at the same company. So it's not like we ever lost touch. But after a little while, Jimmy got sick and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he had a struggle with that. And then he ended up like in a nursing home, and I knew he was in the nursing home. And so he had been in the nursing home for a little while, and he was kind of hanging on, and so here's where the story kind of actually picks up, is because I had to go to Costco one Saturday, and I'm driving to Costco, and the license plate in front of the car that I was driving said Spice. And I was like, and it hit me. And then all of a sudden, the energy of Jimmy was in my car in the front seat. And I'm like, "Jimmy, are you dead?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gone." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're dead." And I'm like, "I got to call a couple specific people." So I called a couple specific people that did maintain like a daily kind of connection with him and would even like help take care of him and things like that. And I called them and I was like, "Hey, did Jimmy pass? And they would, both people were like, no, he's in the nursing home. I just called over there and he did not pass. He's alive. And I'm like, yeah, he's sitting in my car. So are they sure? Like, did they check that he's breathing? And they reassured me that he was still alive. And so I thought, okay, I'm crazy, because if things don't, if I can't get confirmation, like any of you guys that have had sessions with me, I look for confirmation. Like I get this message and then I need to make sure that I'm not crazy and that that's actually, what's happening. So I called my other friend and I was like, hey, I think that Jimmy passed. And she's like, no, no, he didn't. So anyway, I continue to go to Costco and I get to Costco. So now I'm at the Costco and you know how they have those big, like huge displays, because they want you to like grab, when you walk in and there's all those displays and they have signs on the displays. So I walk in and the display sign says spices, and then it's got those, those big jumbo spices, and they're all over the thing. And now Jimmy is with me in the Costco. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like people said you're alive and you're telling me this, and now this is the second time I saw spices. And I was like, all right, Jimmy, if I see it 3 times, then I know like for sure like you're dead. And so he's like, okay, Nick. And so he kind of hung around with me at the Costco, and then I go to Portillo's on my way home from Costco because like I need a Portillo's, but I go to Portillo's on the way home from Costco, and the guy asks me if I want the spicy peppers on my beef, and I'm like, okay. First of all, I only wanted dipped bread because I don't eat the beef, and they never offer me peppers to go on dipped bread without the beef. So that is different, right? And I wasn't. It's not like I was getting a beef sandwich for anybody else. I literally was just getting myself gravy dipped bread. And so I took that as the third sign. So then I called my other friend and I was like, I think that we should go visit Jimmy at the nursing home because his spirit is with me. And he gave me 3 times, he gave me the word spice, which means he's already crossed over. And this is weird, So, and I knew he was kind of like unresponsive, is what they had said, that he wasn't really talking much and he was kind of in and out of consciousness and things like that. So my other friend and I, we go to the nursing home, and the whole way there, Jimmy's in the car. He's in the car. He's there. Then I walk into the nursing home, and I can't remember if my friend drove with me or if my friend met me at the nursing home. Maybe she met me at the nursing home, but in any case, we get to the nursing home and I walk in the building and Jimmy's gone. He's not with me anymore. He's totally like not talking to me, and I'm like, where are you? Like you're not here anymore. So I go to his room, and of course, he is laying in the bed, but he's unresponsive. And I'm trying to connect with his spirit, and I'm like doing the thing that I do to connect. And it, like literally, he was with me with the license plate. He went with me to the Costco. He was with me at the Portillo's. He drove with me to the nursing home. And then I get there, and then he won't talk to me. And so I'm thinking like I must be a lunatic. So we go in, and he is just like unresponsive, and he's obviously like not in a conscious state. And we're trying to be like, Jimmy, Jimmy. And my friend is like trying to talk to him and like, hey, Jimmy. And he's not responding. He's not sleeping. They said he's been that way a couple days. And so I said, so here's the thing that is really interesting is that, my grandma was in heaven at the time. And so I asked her, like, what do we do? And my grandma said, and showed me a photo album in my vision, and showed me a photo album, but it wasn't my photo album. It was Jimmy's photo album. And then toward the end of the photo album, there was a picture of me in the photo album, a picture of our other group of friends in the photo album. There was a picture of Pam in the photo album, my other friend that went with me, which a lot of you guys know. But in any case, um, so we're sitting there and we can't really get him to respond. So I tell Pam, I'm like, spirit is showing, my grandma is showing me that we should like tell him memories, I guess, of his life. Cause I'm like, and my vision is this photo album. So we started telling him stories and memories of our past. So I was telling him about the time that we went to McDonald's and we went through the drive-through and we were so deep in a conversation that we never ordered our food, but we ended up at the pay window and then they were like, you people never ordered food, and we're like, we totally ordered food, and they're like, you didn't order food. But anyway, and so there was some fun memories, and Pam told him about a memory that she had shared with him at a time that they were like playing poker or something. And I just shared the different, one time we played hooky from work so we could go see a movie, and we did like stuff like that. So we had a lot of fun. And so I was just sharing these different memories with him, and Pam was doing the same thing. And then in the middle of it, maybe I prayed the rosary over him too. I think that's a huge thing, is that I did pray, which is also one of the first things I did, is pray with him. And then, so there's a couple things, right? We, I prayed the rosary with him, and I invited his soul to keep talking to me because he was talking to me all morning. I was like, just keep talking to me. So I also, in the prayer I did, ask for his soul to come and to communicate with me. And then we told him the memories. And then I am not shitting you guys. Out of the blue, he sits straight up, like if someone, it was like he literally, he was laying flat and then he like bounced up in the bed and he goes, "Hey, Nick." "Hey, Pam." And he completely recognized both of us in that second. And then his spirit, like, connected with me for a split second, just a split second, but his spirit connected with me like through his body. Like I could see the spirit in the body as he sat up and he was like, "Hey, Nick. Hey, Pam." I mean, and this is like out of no consciousness, like just, and literally, I mean, like sprung up in the bed. And so, of course, Pam and I were like, whoa. And then he laid back down and returned to the state that he was in and became unresponsive again. So we get in the car and we're driving. She did drive with me. I did drive with her, I think, because we got in the car and I remember us talking when we left Jimmy. And so we did. We eventually left. We stayed there for a couple of hours. We eventually left. And then I had told her, I said, because Jimmy came in the car and he like smiled at me and he showed me a triangle. And when he did that, he like showed me a triangle like completing itself. And I was like, a triangle, it wasn't so much the triangle, it was the fact that a triangle had three sides and that I counted them, one, two, three, which was mind, body, soul, id, ego, super ego. It is the analytical self, the emotional self, the physical self, the God self, the Jesus self, the Holy Spirit self. It's like all three parts. And so I said to Pam in the car on the way home, I go, I think he's going to die in 3 days. I said, because he completed everything. And I think his spirit had to come back to his body because I think he was in such a state of illness that his spirit, kind of transcended out of his body so that he didn't have to feel that pain. But like Jimmy's not like a boring guy. So, he wasn't probably hovering over his body, checking on it, which is what the other people in heaven have told me, is that when they transcend out of their body, they kind of hover a little bit and they wait for the body, or they stay in the room or they stay present or close to their body. They don't stay far from their body. They come back, they check on their body, they see how their body's doing. Well, when Jimmy started to transcend out of his body, he was like, nah, wait around. And he went off and started doing his thing and living his like heaven life without ever releasing his body. And so I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, first of all, I didn't even know that was a thing, you guys. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, right? And so when I understood that, that he had left, he just left his body there by itself in that room in like a comatose state, because he was busy doing other things. He wanted to see his family. He wanted to do things in heaven. So I guess he forgot to check on his body. But when we reminded him of memories, and we prayed, and we called his soul back to his body for the purpose of, well, for the purpose of, not for the purpose, but like that maybe he couldn't pass away because he didn't release his body or something like that. It did turn out that Jimmy died 3 days later. And I took that to be like once for the Father, for the Son, and for the Holy Spirit. But he did take about 3 days. And then we got the call that he had passed. And I learned a couple things from that. I learned that we can transcend out of our body in a time um, that we're in pain, or that we're in that unconscious state, or that we're getting close to the moment of death. Um, I also learned with Jimmy that we don't have to necessarily stay close to our bodies when we transcend and kind of separate ourselves from the pain. We can go live a heaven life. Uh, and then hopefully we remember to come and release our body, uh, or the body just does it for us. But sometimes it doesn't. And I also learned that prayer is a gateway to the soul. And I feel that when the first thing we did was pray and welcome his soul, to release his body, to come back, to reconnect with me, basically, because for some reason he wasn't connected to me when I walked through the doors of the nursing home. And I learned that sometimes, for whatever reason, a person has a hard time releasing the body. And I have had a lot of sessions with my clients where they, say, oh, my mom is so sick, or my dad is so sick, and, how long are they going to hold on? And, it kills me to see them in so much pain. I don't want to sound awful, but I just want them to cross over so they don't feel this way anymore. They're not having like a quality life. And when sometimes we don't release the body, I always suggest that we share memories of their life. We ask them questions about their life, like, hey, grandma, who was your second grade teacher? What was your favorite teacher? What was your favorite thing about your life? Tell me about the day you met your husband, or what was your favorite thing about your marriage? And, to ask them and to engage them in memories of their past, because what I believe the soul is trying to do is gather some of those conscious memories that the soul wants to bring to heaven with it, right? Because our conscious, this human brain, it passes, it dies. We're not going to have it to rationalize or to discern, because we live in a constant state of knowing when we are in that realm of heaven. So we don't need a human mind to like think about it, right? Um, and so, in that sense, in order for the soul has to hold on to these moments and kind of put it into itself. Like, oh, remember that time I was in third grade? And I find that what that does is it brings that person to a place of peace within themselves, because they're remembering everything that they love in their life and that they're bringing with them. And it makes those moments not far in the past, right? Because when somebody is getting close to death, when they are in and out of their physical body, that you're recognizing that you may have moments of lucidity, or you have, there are moments when they're kind of in la la land or something like that. When those times happen and you start to notice them slipping like that, there there ceases to be time in their experience. So they don't know if it's morning, noon, or night. They don't recognize time passing. When the soul is more dominant than the body does not experience time. So when we have those moments of lucidity and we are sharing and communicating with those people, if they're able to do that and we get them to communicate about the memories in their life, it makes all the old memories right now. right now, because in their mind, there is no past, present, or future. And so the soul kind of absorbs all of that, right? And that is what I believe is truly beneficial about that. It also allows the person to release the physical body if they need to release the physical body. The other thing and that's for people that are in still a communicative state where they can share that information with you. But like with Jimmy, um, he wasn't able to communicate. He was in an unconscious state. And so I found it helpful that when we prayed, I felt like that opened his energy to kind of receive that connection with my energy and my friend's energy and God's energy, and that open heart to connect to his soul, then the stories that we shared in that opening of his soul, his opening of his soul by prayer, then the memories that we shared went right into that opening. And then that invited his soul or welcomed his soul back in. And then he was able to release the body and pass. Um, so that's Jimmy's story. And anyway, it was so weird because I've been doing these transition stories. And I'm telling you, the other day he just popped in and he's like, "What about me, Nick? Nikki, are you going to tell my story? What about me, Nick?" And then he started sharing memories of times through vision with me of things that we experienced together. And it brought all those times out of the past and made them very present. So, to my friend Jimmy, I dedicate this video to you and thank you for the idea to share your story. I love you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to watch today's video. And thanks for so much for stopping by Alma Para Awakenings. Have a great night.